This is such a sad day.
He showed me how to be strong, be brave, and be there in somebody's time of need.
No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends.
Assistant Chief Jamie Middlebrook, 9102, has answered his final call.
More than 700 firefighters and police officers say goodbye today to a fallen brother. Good evening, I'm Rick Schutt.
And I'm Jennifer Copeland. Assistant New Carlisle Fire Chief Jamie Middlebrook died fighting a business fire. It was on the LaPorte-St. Joseph County line. That was last week. WSBT's Kelly Stopsinski was at today's funeral. And Kelly, the minister gave everyone who was there a challenge.
Jennifer, he asked them all to live their lives more like Middlebrook, who had a passion for his family and serving others.
Jamie lived in the moment. Did not worry about past that was past. And the future would take care of itself.
Assistant Chief Jamie Middlebrook spent more than 20 years as a volunteer fireman, living for right now.
And when you could have said no, Jamie stepped up and said, "Count on me. Count on me to take care of my town and my friends."
He worked full-time on New Carlisle's ambulance and continued to serve while battling cancer.
The response to beating leukemia is to turn around and raise money so others wouldn't have to deal with it. It's the definition of an all-American hero.
New Carlisle Fire Chief Josh Swizer says that hero was also his best friend.
He taught me the right way to do things. He showed me how to be strong, be brave, and be there in somebody's time of need.
The pastor addressed Middlebrook's wife, Julie.
But whenever you were mad at him, he would look at you with those eyes and he would say, "Don't be mad at Jamie." So as hard as it is this day, Julie, I'm going to say those words for him. Don't be mad at Jamie. Know that you alone were the love of his life.
He will always be on call in our heart, and he will always be our hero. God bless Jamie Middlebrook.
Middlebrook is survived by his wife, Julie, his parents, and an older brother. More than 900 people attended his funeral. The auditorium only holds about 860. Some of those firefighters who attended had to watch the service on a big screen in an overflow room. And the pastor spoke to all of them, saying he understood they might be questioning their own service, but advising them to be sound in that service and embrace it, just as Chief Middlebrook did.
9102, St. Joseph County Fire. 9102, St. Joseph County Fire. On August 5th, 2014, New Carlisle Fire Department Assistant Chief Jamie Middlebrook answered his final call. While fighting a fire in Kankakee Township, Assistant Chief Middlebrook bravely entered the unknown. Committed and unafraid, Assistant Chief Middlebrook courageously gave his life for his community. New Carlisle Fire Department Assistant Chief Jamie Middlebrook, 9102, has answered his final call.
What you just heard is the traditional final call given by dispatchers to fallen firefighters. That was heard by emergency scanners across the county as Engine 91 was carrying Jamie Middlebrook's body. It paused in front of the New Carlisle Fire Department for all of that. Hundreds lined the streets of New Carlisle to watch Engine 91 pass. The flag-draped casket holding the body of Assistant Chief Jamie Middlebrook rolled past the fire station in the town he gave his life to protect. WSBT's Kristen Bean was there. Kristen, an extremely difficult and emotional day.
Yeah, and there was a tremendous amount of support here, though, Jen. You know, there were not only 160 vehicles in the procession that went from Bethel College to here in New Carlisle. That meant fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, police motorcycles, but also hundreds of people lined the streets to pay their respects and to give Jamie Middlebrook a hero's goodbye. Long before the procession came into town, people began lining the streets of New Carlisle. Friends.
His smile. He always had that smile.
And even strangers gathered to remember Assistant Chief Jamie Middlebrook.
He risked his life doing his duty, and I feel compelled to be out here to show my support.
As the long line of police motorcycles, fire trucks, and ambulances roared into town, people held signs, flags, and each other. Many cried.
When I heard on the news it was Jamie, I jumped out of my chair and I said, "It can't be Jamie. It can't." But it was.
New Carlisle firefighters lined up to salute their fallen brother as Engine 91, carrying his flag-draped casket, paused at the firehouse for last call. The crowd here couldn't hear it, but the silence was just as powerful.
You knew that you left the dinner table, you know, you have that chance of not coming home.
He wanted to be a fireman, following his father's footsteps.
As Engine 91 made its way under the garrison flag, many solemnly followed.
Jamie was a really loved individual in the community.
He's a tremendous young man.
Proof that the man who dedicated his life to save others and lost his will always be remembered by the town he promised to protect. A huge, touching show of support earlier today. It's also important to point out that the two ladder trucks you saw at the end of that story were also in place helping fight the fire the night Middlebrook died. In New Carlisle, I'm Kristen Bean, WSBT Channel 22 News.
Now, people from all across the area lined the streets along the 23-mile procession to pay their respects to Assistant Fire Chief Jamie Middlebrook as he was taken to his final resting place. Men and women of all ages stood quietly by different streets in South Bend and Mishawaka to honor the fallen hero. Most of them didn't know Middlebrook at all, but had connections to other firefighters.
As all this happens, I can't help but think, what if this were one of our boys? And I look at all these people, if they would be here for us if we needed them, and it's awesome.
Now, the procession included firefighters from as far away as Wisconsin. Engine 91, carrying the body of Jamie Middlebrook, arrived at the New Carlisle Cemetery at about 3 this afternoon. More than 700 firefighters from around Indiana and the nation attended that burial. WSBT's Denise Bone is live at the cemetery right now. And Denise, a 40-member bagpipe and drum team escorted Middlebrook into the cemetery.
Rick, they did, and they were made up of firefighters from all around the state, and they played several songs during the ceremony, including Going Home and a moving rendition of Amazing Grace. The music played. New Carlisle firefighters removed the flag from Middlebrook's casket. They folded it and then gave it to his wife, Julie. She then laid her head on it and cried. The fire chief then gave her Middlebrook's helmet. As is tradition when a firefighter is lost, taps was played and a large silver bell was rung 5 times in 3 sequences, signifying a fireman had been called home. Now, strict protocol was followed during the entire ceremony. Then in a single file, more than 700 firefighters and their families set white carnations on Middlebrook's casket. After a half an hour, when everyone had gone through, the entire casket was covered in white.
Our team provides service both to law enforcement and any other emergency service agency who suffers a loss, just to make sure that no matter what the resources are, no matter how big or how small their department is, proper honor is given to a hero.
And you can see the flowers behind me of where Middlebrook was laid to rest. Now, the white carnations that everybody placed on his casket, inside of them was a red dot. The white, we're told, signifies the good life and career that Middlebrook led. The red signifies the blood shed in the line of duty to protect his community. Now, the event organizer says that there was lots of people that helped put together the ceremony. He even said some local companies donated to help cover some of the burial expenses. He also passed on some words of encouragement. He wanted everyone to know that it's going to take quite a long time for Middlebrook's family and this community to find some sort of peace in all this that has happened, and also to find some sort of new normal after Middlebrook's death. Reporting from New Carlisle, Denise Bone, WSBT Channel 22 News.
Well, you may have seen flags across St. Joseph County at half-staff today. That's because Indiana Governor Mike Pence ordered state offices to lower their flags in honor of Jamie Middlebrook. He asked that Hoosiers do the same to honor the fallen firefighter. Flags will remain at half-staff until sunset. As you can imagine, it was an emotional day for family, friends, and fellow firefighters, and you've seen why. We have team coverage online, including pictures from across the area of you showing your support for the family of New Carlisle Assistant Fire Chief Jamie Middlebrook and his fellow firefighters.